It was
Right.
managing the sales administration for the lighting business kind of stuff. But
Right.
I had to do problem solving. I had a very interesting manager called R.M. Thakkar, a Gujarati, very
RM Thakkar.
smart man. Okay.
Yes.
Now there was a problem with I was part of the lighting division, and we had supplied lighting fittings to a dealer in Goa. Okay. And the dealer was not paying.
Okay.
Now my job was to get payments. So I went and told Mr. Thakkar he is not paying. So he said, if he is not paying, do you think I am going to pay? I am not going to pay. You go and get the money. I said, what do you mean you go to the wedding?
Okay, namaskar, vanakkam, and greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor we have today with us Mr. Sridhar Ramanathan, more than 5 decades of experience in the industry, a veteran marketer, a mentor, a coach, a writer, and of course, a family man who has led his life with a lot of opportunities, challenges, achievements, success, learnings. So it would be a great conversation for sure. And I'd like to welcome Sridhar sir and give us an opportunity to ask few questions because there are tons of stories. He has been quite active on LinkedIn as well as in social life at this point of career. And he's 75, a grandfather, a father. It seems that he has the same boyish energy. So Sridhar sir, welcome to
Thank you, Shubhankar.
this conversation.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I think when you started, most of us who are active on LinkedIn were not born. We're talking about India.
बुड्ढा बना दिया मेरे को.
So, sir, but the way you share, it seems you're still updated and quite well apprised what's going on and how things have evolved. So if we pine to India of 1960s or 70s when you were a student and before entering the industry, if you would like to share with us, because we have only heard some stories from our parents that the literacy rate was below 30% at that point, and then things used to take time, even for an LPG cylinder during the 60s and 70s. The waiting period was quite long. So how has been your experience of that time if we go back to that era? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I read it on LinkedIn when your results were out. Your manager took you outside, and then you had shared one narrative about.
Yeah. So I was working with this management consultant called Arvind Gordhandas. Okay. The day the results were out, I got a third class. Went to office as usual, and I didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. And during lunch, just before lunch, he said, "Results aa gaya." I said, "Aa gaya." He said, "What happened?" So I said, "I got a third class." So he said, "Have you got lunch from home?" So I said, "Yeah." He said, "No, keep it. I'll take you out for lunch." So then across the road, he took me to the quality restaurant there. Okay. During lunch, we had a lunch, and then he said, "Listen," and it was a sumptuous lunch, it was fairly nice, etc.
Right.
And he said, "Listen, I want you to understand this. I have no confusion in my mind between a third class graduate and a third rate person. And my suggestion is you should not have any confusion between a third class graduate and a third rate person. You're not a third rate person. If you're a third rate person, I would not waste my time with you. And trust me, I've hired people, millions of guys for the Walchandnagar group and many of my other clients. I know people when I see them. You have a fantastic future. I trust you. So get rid of that from your mind and concentrate on your job."
Wow.
Super advice.
Wow. I can only say that at that point, much needed and impactful.
Yeah,
Coming from,
absolutely. It was a big shot in the arm.
right?
I mean, I'm talking about 1969. We are in 2025, right?
Yes. In few days, we'll be entering.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Now, talking about your transition towards those big companies, and you mentioned that Ogilvy, you were one of the founding employees at the Bangalore office, and you grew and you had led.
So there was a quick transition from that company was called Systems. From Systems, I joined Crompton Greaves. I was with Crompton Greaves for 2 years in Pune. Now,
Okay.
the reason why I mentioned Crompton Greaves was I had some very good training in Crompton Greaves. I was a sales assistant
Okay.
in the
Okay.
lighting business. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I was, although in an administrative part of the job, I was not actually selling, but I was
Right.
managing the sales administration for the lighting business kind of stuff. But
Right.
I had to do problem solving. I had a very
Okay.
interesting manager called R.M. Thakkar, a Gujarati, very, very
RM Tagore.
smart man. Okay.
Yes.
Now, there was a problem with, I was part of the lighting division and we had supplied lighting fittings to a dealer in Goa. Okay.
Okay.
And the dealer was not paying.
Okay.
Now, my job was to get payments. So I went and told Mr. Thakkar he is not paying. So he said, if he is not paying, do you think I'm going to pay? I'm not going to pay. You go and get the money. I said,
Right.
what do you mean you go to the money? He said, listen, what I mean is you go from Pune to Goa and go get the money from the dealer.
Right.
So I said, okay, I will go. I had never been to Goa before. I'm 100% vegetarian. So
Right.
now here is a fantastic story. My Goa
Yeah.
guy, so dealer was a very hospitable guy, and he was a very young guy. I forget their name, Salgaonkar, some name like that. Okay.
Okay.
One of the young partners came to meet me. The guy was just about my age. He came to
Yeah.
take me from the station, and he
Yeah.
took me to a lodge. Okay,
Right.
and I said, Acha, they're treating me well and all that. And he said,
Right.
"Ab lunch kalo. After that, I will take you to our shop."
Okay.
Okay. So after that, I went to the shop. I went to the meet the owners. So they
Okay.
bitaya, chai pilaya, and he said, "Listen, the thing is that all the fittings that have come are spoiled
Okay.
because they've been drenched in rain. Okay, and the
Okay.
fittings are not working, and I can't pay
Okay.
for those fittings.
Okay.
Now, we will send you to the godown. You take an inspection of the whole thing, right?
Okay.
And then out of, let us say, 100 fittings, let us see how many fittings work.
Okay.
And then pay for the fittings that work. For the fittings that don't work, I won't pay.
Right.
Does that sound reasonable? I said, it's very reasonable. I didn't realize what was coming. So he said,
Okay.
very good. So tomorrow
Okay.
my son will take you to the godown and you do the checking. Now,
Good.
there were 1,000 lighting fittings.
1,000.
We have to check every fitting, one fitting at a time, 1,000 lighting fittings.
Wonderful. Cannot imagine.
So I said, listen, my akela, how can I test 1,000 lighting fittings? I said, get couple of electricians. They said, fine, but you tell them how to do it.
Okay.
So on the spot, I had to figure out how to do it. So we had a batch of some 10 electricians checking the fittings, etc. And then I said, check the fittings, check whether the tube is fitted properly, whether the choke is all right, whether the starter is working. So if the
Yeah.
so diagnostics mein aaya. Now, if the starter is not working, change the starter. Start with the starter, which is the cheapest thing,
Right.
right?
Right.
And if the starter is working, the tube is not working, then check the tube.
Okay.
If the tube is working, the starter is working, and the choke is not working.
All sorts of components.
So, then you have to understand diagnostics. And
Right.
what happened was, this took nearly 4 weeks. And 4 weeks I was held captive. I'm 100% vegetarian.
Got it.
Okay. They said, we'll give you vegetarian meals. You don't need to eat fish and all that kind of thing. But you cannot go back to Bombay until this job is done.
Right.
And finally, it worked out that 70% of the fittings were all right. 30 fittings were not all right. 30% were not all right. I had to give a certified report, sending
Right.
to the management team in Bombay, saying this is the thing. And the dealer said, I'll pay for 70%. Balance 30%, you decide what to do. So I
Got it.
told him that, look, let us check what is the problem with the balance 30%. If you can resolve it locally, I will repair it for you. And then you pay for it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if the choke is to be changed, then we'll get choke on the local market. And the cost of the choke will be paid by my company, but then the fitting will still be working. So
Right.
AO karke finally minimize the damage to 10%.
Got it. Got
Right?
it.
Now, but the lesson was, my job was to solve the problem. Right?
Right.
As an employee, it is not my job to tell my boss what is the problem.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the first lesson I learned. As an employee, your job is to solve the problem. Reporting the problem is a reporter's job.
Cannot agree more, sir. Cannot agree more. Because
Yeah.
you were young and you were put into this situation. 4 weeks is a month, staying at that location for a month and doing
Yeah.
all that. And in those days,
And vegetarian. And then they
yes,
took me to some remote Udupi hotel. And every
yeah,
day I got the same vada and idli. And I
right,
suspected that the idlis and vadas were, you
yeah,
know,
right.
a couple of days old and all that kind of stuff.
Now,
Yeah.
also it brings a question. I also discussed earlier with you about
Hmm.
identity. So, similarly, I am also a vegetarian, and so people have this, I would say, misconception, or would say a narrative established that people joining sales or marketing profiles. So these are part and parcel of the job to drink and to just join or whatever it takes. So
So
these
first, tell me what do you mean by identity?
identity, something unique to a person or a
See,
place or
typically identities, I'm like this only.
right,
So I'm a South Indian, I am a vegetarian, so I am conservative. Now,
right,
South Indian is a fact, vegetarian is a fact, conservative need not be a fact. That's
right,
an assumption.
right,
So that's the point.
right,
All right. So because I'm a third class graduate, I thought that I'm not fit enough to be a manager. That's not true.
right,
The two are not connected. So a
right,
lot of people have mistaken identity. They assume an identity which is not true.
which is not true. True.
Okay, just because I'm 75, everybody
Right,
says you should be retired.
right,
Now I'm retired in the normal sense, but I'm
right.
still open for conversations, right?
Very true, very
So
true.
it does not mean that just because I'm 75 and you're half my age, I have to only
Yeah,
give you lectures on philosophy. No?
very true, very
So
true.
that we break that mold. I mean, we break that
Right,
assumption. Yeah.
right. So let's touch bit on your background. So you said that you belong to the great Tam Brahmin community. And when I
Hmm.
talk about that, it's not to compare or not to bring out some analysis, but it's what is factual. So I recall that your community, there are three Nobel Prizes, two for physics, one for chemistry. Then the great Srinivasa Ramanujan is there, and C.V. Raman, and all those people. So great people. So, uh, do you think that somewhere sticking to the roots and respecting yourself, the identity and your spiritual belief, or somewhere, because uh, it cannot be the case that we can have so many accomplishments, and those accomplishments are intellectual and at world level, not just in India, at world level we are talking about. So,
See, it's just about uh, the kind of upbringing and the training that we have had.
right,
It's very disciplined life,
right,
very focused studies and hard work and
right.
determination to achieve objectives. इतना ही है.
G.
So if I'm given a task, I must stay focused until I finish the task. I can't get up from that place. I was taught that when I was a kid. If I was told that I have to finish that lesson in half an
Right,
hour, I have to finish that lesson, then only I'll get breakfast.
right,
If I don't finish breakfast properly, I cannot get up from that plate. I cannot waste anything.
Right.
So small things we learned.
Right.
We all came from very frugal means, so we can't waste food. I was not. I was told that whatever is served on this plate, you cannot waste. So if you have you gone to a South Indian wedding anytime? Have you eaten
Yes,
on a banana leaf?
I have
Right.
had.
Now a lot of people eat there and waste food.
Yes,
So first time I went, my father said, you cannot waste anything.
it's a great lesson and great
Right.
value.
So I said, what happens if I ate something and they serve again? He said, listen, you can tell them I don't want it.
Right.
But whatever is served, you have to eat. And then I asked him, what if I don't like it? So he said, whatever you don't like, you eat first.
Right.
And then you eat the rest of it later. Now, the thing is that the logic normally is I eat what I like eating first,
Right.
which means that I'll waste the other thing. Now,
Right.
yeah, so from the beginning, you learned some simple life lessons. So even at work, do the difficult task first.
Right.
So don't worry about getting what you like, what you don't like.
Right, sir. Right. And I recall our conversation in the past where
Yeah.
you said that you plan for every single meeting, you plan for every single incident or a project. And I can see that you say that although you have left a full-time job or you are running a business, you are active, you are working, but the kind of discipline you have in your life, for example, meditating for hours, not just for a short time, meditating for hours, and then finding time for family, also taking care of your professional responsibilities. So I never witnessed that you are casual or you take things for chance. Always there is some kind of planning or scientific thinking behind that. So would you
No,
like
no,
to
it's like this, like yeah, right? It's like, if you're running the railways, you have to have a
add?
timetable.
Right,
But in spite of that, there will be delays, there will be accidents, there will be
uh,
unexpected things that happen.
right,
So it's as simple as that. It's just like, why should I take my life for granted? So everybody, our life is the same. Everybody gets up in the morning and he has to do
and
the normal stuff. He has to
right,
go to the bathroom, he has to have a bath, he has to have a breakfast, he has to have lunch, everything. That's all standard, no? So in between that, he has lots of time.
right,
What if you plan the time?
right,
And then you plan it in such a way that you plan fixed times and sometimes you keep flexible,
right,
right? So I work it on the basis that whatever I want to do for myself, whether it is professional or others, I fix my time. My meditation time in the morning is my time.
right,
Nobody can disturb me at that time, so they leave me alone. And
right,
that time I choose because that time is not required. Nobody requires me at that time. They are busy their own stuff, right? My wife is
right,
busy doing her own stuff. My mother-in-law is busy doing her own stuff. तो मैं एक
right,
कोने पे बैठा हूँ, मैं जप कर रहा हूँ, जप माला भर के बैठा बैठा हूँ. How does it matter to anyone,
right,
right? So in between they come to the puja room. Now that is a test for my meditation. If they come to the puja room,
right,
right, and at that time they do something, I don't get disturbed. This morning, for instance, I was doing a meditation. My grandson from the US spoke to my wife and said, I haven't met Tatu for a long time. I want to say hello. He was on
okay,
the call. So she
okay,
came and then I looked up at her and she held the phone. I saw his face. Then I stopped the meditation. I greeted him, spoke for 2 minutes. So he said,
right,
Tatu, you're meditating? I said, no, no problem. Let's have a chat. He said, no, you finish it. We'll talk later. Okay. So I said, okay, we'll talk later. Now he was happy. I was happy. Now it took matter of 30-40 seconds. So in terms of number of counts, my count would have gone off by a couple of counts here. So I started
yes,
all over again. इसमें क्या फर्क
right,
पड़ता है? So it's a question of that there is a principle I follow called focus and flexibility.
focus and flexibility.
Uh,
Yeah.
my focus is to do the meditation. My flexibility is to accommodate people who are important. If a salesman came at that time, usko bhaga deta tha. I won't meet him.
Right.
My grandson is very important. And he's so eager to meet me. I mean, we spent so much time with him in the US, and he said, I haven't met Tatu for a long time. I haven't seen his face. I want to see him. And he's so eager. And my wife says she's on the line. Pratyush wants to see you. Wants to say hi to you. And 2 days ago, my granddaughter wanted to say hi to me. They know that. And even in the US, when I was meditating, they knew that, things like that will happen. Okay, tell me.
Are a mentor to so many people, and in your life, I think you mentioned about Mr. Iyer when you were with Ogilvy, and you mentioned about an incident. The three of your seniors uh, unfortunately passed away in an accident in Chennai. And at that point, he used to travel. And also, he mentored you and gave an opportunity to work at global locations of Ogilvy, such as London, Paris, and those things. And your father, starting from your father, because having someone like him who would guide his son to act with resilience, and later on, your boss says everyone. So, what role a mentor would play in someone's career path? Uh, as a mentee, as a mentor, you have seen both lives. So,
See, the thing is, mentor gives you guidance.
okay,
He does two things. He gives you guidance, he gives you confidence, and he gives you support.
right,
Right? He gives you guidance, he gives you confidence, and you know that when you fall, there will be somebody to help.
right,
But he is not going to do your job for you.
very true,
He'll not. He'll give you a recipe to cook, but he'll not cook the food and give it to you.
right,
That's the role of a mentor. But the mentor is always helpful. Yeah,
right,
you know that when in doubt, you can go and talk to him.
right,
Worst comes to us, you said, don't worry, let's go for a chat, right? Let's go for a cup of tea, make you feel good. And you
right,
said things are not bad. For instance, it is dark now. Tomorrow morning, what will happen? Tomorrow morning, the sun will be bright. He said, right?
right,
So when there is night, there will be daytime coming.
right,
So don't
right,
worry. So
right.
they'll give you hope. A mentor gives hope.
Hope, a glimmer of hope. Right,
That's the role of the mentor.
got it, sir. And just relevant to this, you mentioned on LinkedIn about a case study that you were proposing to a client and he was not convincing. Then your boss told the same thing and he got convinced. Then you asked him, your boss would have told you that. So, if you'd like to share before.
So it's like this. So the thing is that even if I have a very strong story to tell you, right? If I
Right,
don't have the credibility, you will not accept it from me. See,
true.
it happens at homes, no? Like for instance, suppose your father tells you something, you don't
Okay.
accept it. You do take it lightly. But the same thing is told to you by your boss, or the same thing is told to you by your teacher, you accept it.
Yes.
So what is that saying? Gar ki something dal barabar, gar ki murgi dal barabar, right?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल घर
That's
की
the
मुर्गी
same
दाल
thing.
बराबर.
Huh,
बिल्कुल.
gar ki murgi dal barabar. So the
जी.
point is that we take things for granted when it comes from a source which we take for granted. But when it comes from a credible source, it becomes
Right,
acceptable. So that's what my boss explained to me. He said, you don't have a relationship with the client. He doesn't
okay.
know you well enough. He doesn't know your intellectual prowess. He doesn't know
Yeah.
your hard work. He doesn't know the kind of background work you have got. But he knows
Right.
me for a number of years. I've delivered results for him. He
Right.
trusts me. Trust is the name of the game.
Trust.
Trust.
Right, sir. Now I'm going to ask a very relevant question, which
Yeah.
is related to when people join new organizations. It takes time to build that trust, usually a couple of years. So the organization, the team understands them, and then they understand the culture. So in your time, you spent Silver Jubilee, 25 years with Ogilvy and such companies. And so it was a long-term employment culture then. Now people switch very frequently, looking for whatever reasons they change. So how to build trust and how do you see that? Because you are also a coach. People approach you. Sometimes they're having midlife crisis situations, or someone is stagnant, some mental block is there. So do you see that earning trust is no more the same in your time, or what has changed? Uh,
It's the same.
is
I
the
think
same?
people don't understand what is trust. What is your definition of trust?
My definition of trust is if you ask me something, then you don't need to worry about whatever the outcome is, or what is your expectation is from me.
Very simple thing, right? We have a meeting at what 3 o'clock or whatever it is.
Right.
You send me a link. I have to join at 3 o'clock, right?
Very true.
You trust me to join the meeting at 3 o'clock. That's one. Now, if I don't join the meeting, you send me a message. Okay.
Right.
Sometimes there could be misunderstanding. Now the thing is, at that point, I would say, "Oh my God, I missed it. I'll join now." Is one
Yeah.
reaction. The
Right.
second thing is to bullshit. Oh, I haven't listened to your link.
Right.
Or you say, no, no, today was not fixed. So I then give some gyan. So then trust me, lafda ho jata.
G.
Correct? Now the thing
G.
is, if I come straight to the point and say, listen, I'm so sorry, I'll join you in 2 minutes. Then I come to you with a blue shirt. But you say,
Yeah.
listen, yesterday आप सफेद बोलने वाले हैं. I said 2 minutes here. मैं check करके आ जाता हूँ. Now
Yeah.
what happened was yesterday we were sitting in that room. Now this
Right.
afternoon my wife was resting there.
Right.
Now she's had a long day, so she was resting. तो मैं बोला इधर बैठूं. Now I have changed the venue now,
Right.
right? But finally we have to continue the work, right? It mattered 2 minutes. I didn't have to stay on any prestige. हाँ या सफेद कपड़ा and उधर तक कुर्ता चेंज किया आ गया वापस.
Yeah.
So now the trust is about I have to trust what you're saying. You have to trust my intention. ऐसा ना होना चाहिए कि कल एक बोलता है आज एक बोलता है. Right? And he's behaving like, super boss or some. ऐसा ना होना चाहिए. That's at the end of the day, we are human beings, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's how trust is built.
Right.
Trust and relationships go very closely in hand.
Right.
Truth is the foundation.
Right. So as you talk about relationships and business is all about relationships. So I asked you a question that now mostly people rely on digital platforms for attending business events or doing any kind of networking. So that's the elemental foundation. So I often see that when people go to places that are physical events, so somewhere there is a kind of gap. They are not able to connect with people from that angle. So you talked about that 3H analogy. Also, there was a great sharing about what exactly is mass communication. So all that, somewhere language, the human angle comes. So if you'd like to shed some light on that part.
See, the human angle and trust is very important. Okay. Trust is very simply saying, I will do what I say I will do. And I trust you to do what you say you will do. Correct.
Yeah, correct, sir.
The moment you don't do what you say you will do, then trust is a question. As simple as
Right.
that. So to
Right.
start with, I must give what is called as a benefit of doubt.
Benefit of doubt.
If I say that I'll turn up at 3 and there is a slight delay, they are giving me a benefit of doubt. Then बाद में some connection का problem हो गया, whatever it is. And then we managed to connect.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
So he gave me a benefit of doubt. And
Right.
after that also I bullshit. Then you will say, hey, बकवास कर रहा है.
Okay.
So I think it's a question of, are we willing to give the benefit of doubt where it is necessary? After a while, if I won't give a benefit of doubt to the same guy, who will always give me bullshit reasons.
Right.
So suppose one employee comes late. एक दिन
Right.
late आया, दूसरा दिन late आएगा. Every day gives me a new excuse. So I say my mother's not well, my wife is not well, my mother-in-law is not well. उसको शादी ही नहीं हुआ तो wife कहाँ है, mother-in-law कहाँ है? बकवास ना?
बिल्कुल.
Then I'll say, okay, very good. Where do you stay? I stay here. I'll say, okay, tomorrow I'll drop you home.
Right.
Then he panics because the where he said he was staying is not where he is staying. Then I find out that everything he told me is a lie.
Right.
He's from a comfortable family. All the
Right.
sob stories, Gomez, all bakwas.
Right.
So if you're a smart boss, you'll find out.
Right.
A smart customer will find out.
Right. So, sir, when you were working with all those companies on the marketing campaigns, where language plays a major role, what language is used, and you had said that understanding. So, about mass communication, you had shared that it's not actually mass communication; it's an individual who's consuming that content. So,
Yeah,
it
I see. I'll give an example. Suppose you go to a movie. Who's your favorite actor?
aware about.
Murphy's law says that whatever might go wrong will go wrong. So it's like that. But the whole thing is that when things go wrong, are you in a ready position to, get up immediately before the count of 10? That's the name of the game, like what we did just now.
We did just now, and you did in 1969
Yeah.
before the results came, and that's a great lesson as well as a positive influence for
Yeah. So
not just.
this is something I learned from my father.
Yes,
Mhm.
great lesson. And you asked me a question. Who's my favorite actor? You were explaining. So my favorite actor of this generation is Ajay Devgan. And
Hmm.
yes,
Why Ajay Devgan?
somewhere I see that stardom is left aside when he is on screen. He really invests himself and also takes up challenging roles. So right from the beginning, so I've been watching his movies.
He's a genuine human being. Every role is different,
Every role is different.
right? And everywhere, irrespective of whether it's the same director or whatever it is, depending on the role, his dialogue delivery is different.
Very, very
In
true.
a way, there is flying